Right, so we're going to go through what's called a tuition assessment. And in this tuition assessment, my goal is to help make sure that you are going to make money with the price that you chose for your tuition. Oftentimes we'll choose a price, but we need to put it to the test. So this software is actually a software that is a proprietary software our company well, I can't take the credit. We didn't create it. We worked with Georgia Tech students and they helped us to create it. So shout out to Georgia Tech. With this tuition, as I ask you certain questions, I'll be explaining to you why I'm asking you these questions because it's going to be very important that you understand the why and how this is going to calculate how much your tuition should be versus how much you thought it was going to be, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we're going to get started by choosing a new course in editing. This course is going to be in person, correct?
Yes.
All right. Next, your state requires 120 hours, but as we've talked, 80 of those are theory. We're still going to put 0 for lab because it's kind of like 40 and 40, so we'll do that. And then down here is 40 for clinical. Now, why did we separate theory from clinical? Because you might have an LPN teaching clinical, and you might have an RN teaching theory, and you may be paying them two totally different wages. So this software wants to take that into consideration, okay?
Okay.
All right, next, the length of the course in weeks. And I know I have harped on you about I don't care about the weeks. I only care about the days. I know I said that. But for purposes of this software, we have to do it in weeks. And we always add an additional week on to how long we said the program was going to be. Because
Okay.
we do that because a student might go through your program might have been 4 weeks, but then they missed 2 days and now they got to make up 2 days. Well, those makeup days are going to be on the next week probably. And so therefore we can't have classes. This software is going to determine how many classes you can have a year based upon the number we put in here. So with that said, and remember, right now we're only doing your day program because I know you got a day and you got an evening. We can do multiple programs at a time. Right now we're going to do the day. So I think we said your day program was going to be 4 weeks, was it?
4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay. So we're going to put a 5 here instead because we need an additional week for buffer for missing. And for those of you who are watching this video, there's a completely separate video on how to find out how long your program is going to be. It is on our YouTube channel. So rather than viewing this, which is a tuition assessment, you can view the video labeled how to determine the length of your course instead. All right. All right. So now we have the rate for the instructor. Now you may not know this right now, and that's okay. This is right now we're just playing around. So if you had an instructor versus a clinical instructor, how much would you want to pay them, and what's the difference?
45.
45 for your classroom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then clinical the same or less?
40.
All right. And for those watching, you may feel like, oh my God, 45, 40, it's okay. If that's what maybe she paying herself. We don't know. If maybe you scared to pay somebody that much, that's on you. But typically people do say somewhere between $30 to $45 is what I've seen based upon that person's experience. I have even seen 25 in a lot of the southern states for LPNs. But that's neither here nor there. Moving along. How many students can you have in your state? Remember, student to instructor ratio varies per state. In your state, I don't know if you are aware, but you can have 10. Or is it 15? Uh-oh, I feel like I'm lying.
For clinical?
For clinical or class, which one? Yeah, you can
I
have
thought it
15.
was, yeah, I thought I was gonna say 16, but 15. Okay.
Do you plan on having 15 seats
Yes.
in your classroom? Okay.
Yes.
So that's one thing to consider. Your state has a ratio. If you don't know your state's ratio, you need to reach out to your state to find that out, or you can always consult us to help you through this. But every state has a ratio. Now, in addition to that, sometimes the classroom ratio is different than the clinical ratio. In your state, you don't have a classroom ratio at all. But there is a clinical ratio. And the reason why we're just going to say your classroom ratio is the same as your clinical is because if I have more people in class, that means I would have to bring a second instructor to clinical with me, right? Which could increase my costs. So we're going to keep it 15. Just because you're allowed 15 doesn't mean your space can hold 15. So I have worked with people who only had enough space for 10. So in that situation, we would put 10 here. All right, next. Next is your application fee and etc. So when you see this price, this side, don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to choose one of those. You don't have to choose one of these. These are just here to make you think about those options. It is completely up to you. All right. So now that you see these, and there's a second page of them, any of these you plan on including in your tuition? And if so, how much are we going to charge?
So the textbook I wanted to include in a tuition.
Okay. Are you also going to do the workbook?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to say yes. I heard the hesitation. I am going to say yes because people don't do the homework like they're supposed to do. And when they find out they got to do workbook pages, now they ain't got no choice but to learn. So we're going to say yes. Now, I know the book that you want, which I think you're going with the August Learning Solutions book. That particular book is 45 plus the text, it's 45, I believe, for the book. And actually, it goes down. I think it goes down to like 40 if you order 2 or more. We're going to estimate. I'm going to estimate 40 plus the workbook was 18. So we're going to always round up. I'm going to round this to 60. Are you including a uniform?
Yes.
Okay, how much?
It's gonna be the cheaper kind. So $15.
Okay. I'm gonna round you up to 20 because there is a company called Smiley Scrubs, SmileyScrubs.com. And they provide you, as long as you order 10 or more, they give you a discount for ordering bulk scrubs. And some of their cheaper scrubs are like, I think it's like $17 total. I think it's like 6 for the top, 11 for the bottom or something like that, which comes out to be like $17. I'm always rounding up, and let me tell you why. If you say it's only $15 or $16 and then your student loses theirs or ruins it, and then you like, oh, well, you need new ones. Okay, that's going to be 20. The first thing they're going to say is, well, in the book, it said it was only 17. Why are you charging me 20? Okay, because I got to order it, and now I got to be shipped because you wasn't living right, and now you want me to pay for the shipping? I don't think so. So I'm just telling them off the rip, it's 20. I might even go to 25 because I'm not having those conversations with you. Next is the ID badge. Everyone has to create an ID badge for their students. So typically one ID badge is not going to be over $5 unless you buying like a big extra, thick ID badge that a large company would be utilizing. All right, next question. Do you plan on providing a blood pressure cuff and or stethoscope for your student?
No.
Okay. That's fine. And no secondhand watch. Okay, we're going to go next. Now, for those of you watching this, if you want this type of service, you can book a call with us and we can help you figure this out. This is like a rough draft of figuring out whether or not your cost for your program is going to make sense. So you can book a call and we can help you do this. All right. So do you plan on paying for the state competency exam?
No.
All right. And then and let me just go back and talk about the state competency exam. The reason why we have this on here as an option to pay for in advance for the student is because sometimes students don't go sit for their exam. And when they don't go sit for their exam, then they never become certified. And if you later are trying to go for funding, one of the things they ask you in funding is the following. If you graduated 100 students, how many got certified? And if your answer was 3, because only 3 took the time to pay, it's going to look bad. It's not your fault, but it looks bad. So sometimes people will include the competency exam into their fee just to force the students to take the exam to make them get certified. Also, students will also wait, like maybe I graduate in January, but I know secretly I won't get enough money to pay for my exam until March when I get my tax refund. So I'm going to wait till March to take the competency exam. Well, meanwhile, that's 3 months later. Do you think I remember the skills? No. So I end up failing. And when they fail, it looks bad on you. So some people do include the competency exam. It is a headache, though. Let's be real. Because now you got to file it for them. And then if they don't use, the vouchers expire when you buy the vouchers. And so there's things to think about here. You don't have to answer that right now.
Mhm.
it's my goal as your consultant to just make sure I educate you on the pros and the cons, and then you make the choice from there. As of
Okay.
right now, you said no, so we'll skip it. CPR certification. Are you an instructor? And if so, do you plan on incorporating it?
I'm not an instructor. At this moment, I wasn't planning on incorporating, but I have been considering becoming an instructor so I can incorporate that.
Okay. So do you want to leave it on or off for now?
We can let's put it on.
Okay.
Let's put it on.
Good, because this is a good conversation. When I add it on, people say, okay, well, I charge $80 for CPR. That's cool, but we're not going to put $80 into this tool because the tool
Mhm.
is racking up how much money you're spending out. And you're
Mhm.
not spending out $80 per student. You're probably spending out more like $25 because you had to buy the book and you had to buy the what's that? The card,
Mhm.
right? So anything else when you do CPR is money in your pocket. This tool is looking for money out of your pocket. So you're
Mhm.
only going to be out of pocket about $25 if you teach it. Now, if you're hiring somebody to come in and teach it for you, then yeah, you do want to put 80 here or whatever you two agreed on because you got to pay them all their money.
Mhm.
Background check. Do you plan on doing background check for your students?
Mhm. See, I hadn't even thought about this.
That's okay.
This
That's
is
why I'm
good.
here.
This is good.
All right, I can talk to you about it.
uh,
Um,
yeah, let's talk about it.
in your state, because you're in Illinois, in your state, you do have to provide your students with a background check. I'm sorry, let me back up. In your state, students do have to have a background check in order to enroll in your program.
Mhm.
Now, many states require that, some states don't. In your state, you guys have to actually do it. So you actually go to the state's website and you conduct the background check, and then you have to mark each person you've done a background check on in the system, because they want to identify who is even interested in entering the healthcare system and
Mhm.
for future references. So, anyway, I digress. There is a fee. I promise you, I wish I could remember the fee right now. I want to say it's no more than $25. So we're going to put 25 here, but don't quote me.
Okay.
I'll get that for you before we meet.
Okay.
PPD test. Are you going to be doing PPDs or is that not on you?
I wasn't.
Okay, I like it. If you're not going to do everyone needs a PPD in order to enter your program. If you're not going to do them, you do need to find a referral source to tell your
Okay.
students where to get them done.
Okay.
So they can get it at their PCP. They can also get it at the health department. So drug screen is not required, but the long-term care facility you are going to partner with may ask you to do them. I've not seen
Okay.
one do it yet, but it's possible.
Okay.
All right, and then so that's it for that. We're gonna hit the submit button, and now we're gonna go to monthly expenses. Please ignore all these numbers here. These numbers have nothing to do with you. They were just kind of pre-filled.
Mhm.
So we've already talked about the hours for your program. We talked about any type of weekly pay and hourly pay. Now we need to talk about your monthly expenses.
Mhm.
So how much do you anticipate or how much have you budgeted to pay for rent?
I anticipate like $2,000.
Okay, that's reasonable. And then utilities, there are some facilities that you may rent that all utilities are included. There are some
Mhm.
facilities that utilities are not included and you have to pay for them all. And then there's some that they pay for some and you pay for the other.
Mhm.
Regardless, we got to think about electricity, Wi Fi, phone,
Mhm.
and then you might have to pay for water or water might be on them. I usually round each one out to be about 100, so that's 400. I'm gonna put 450. Is that okay?
Yes.
Professional liability. So professional liability is not required in your state, but it is the prudent thing to do. Some states do require professional liability as well as a surety bond. Your state does require a surety bond, but it does not require professional liability. Also, for those of you who are watching and you're like, well, I want to know if my state requires that, reach out to your state or book a call with us because we know those things. Whichever one is easier for you. So professional liability insurance is not required, but I'm going to suggest you budget for it.
Okay.
And I've never seen professional liability cost anything over $2,500 a year. Professional
Okay.
liability is something you technically have to pay for out of pocket for the whole year. And I think, with you in your current profession, you may already have professional liability. Do you?
Yes.
Okay. So the company you currently do professional liability with, you can contact them and ask them for professional liability for your healthcare school with a student blanket. The student blanket is important. Without the student blanket, they're not going to cover your students in case they do anything at clinical to hurt somebody. They're only going to cover you and your instructors.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, I'm going to put 125 here because that comes out to be, 125 times 12 is a little somewhere around 2,500. You do have to pay a surety bond. That varies. It's typically anywhere from 300 to 500, but I'm going to go on the high side because I never want to underbid us. But surety bond insurance is the insurance that's required to protect your students in the event that you go out of business. Anybody who wants to know more about surety bond insurance, you guessed it, I already got a video on that. So there's a video on the YouTube about surety bond. You can just Google search, well, not Google search, but the magnifying glass search on my page, surety bond, and you can watch a video to learn more about that. But anyway, surety bond insurance can vary depending on who you do it through. Like some companies want to know your credit history. They want to know if you've ever been bankrupt. Like they ask a lot of questions. And then there's some companies that provide surety bonds that don't ask you nothing. So it's just a matter of who you talk to and what they charge. But typically, I think in your state, the surety bond is like somewhere around $10,000 to $20,000, and that shouldn't cost you any more than $500. Lastly, in this row is your lab supplies. And so this is like, okay, you run out of gloves, you run out of gown, you run out of toothbrushes, you run out of soap, you run, emesis basins, you name it, you have to replenish those things. How much money do we think we may be spending a month to replenish those things? I'm gonna say $150. All right, over here we have part 2 of monthly expenses. And this is where we talk about the following. How much money do you think you are going to spend in marketing per month?
I have the slightest idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
As an organization, well, at my school, we spend about $1,000 to $3,000 a month in marketing, but that's at my school, and that's because I'm used to it and I don't have a problem with it. When I first started out, I didn't go over $500. And this is for a multitude of reasons. This like deserves its own video, but I'm gonna make it real quick. When you first start marketing your business, you don't know who you're marketing to. Remember we talked earlier about, is it single parents? Is it teenagers? Who is it? Because how you do your ads on social media and on the internet is based upon that. And so we don't know yet who's going to respond to what and who's going to like us. 6 months in, we start learning who likes us. And then it makes sense. Okay, well, since I know who likes me, I know how much money I'm willing to spend on that. Right now, we don't know. We're just rolling dice. We don't want to spend a lot of money rolling dice. We trying to figure out how to play this game right now. So I'm going to suggest $500 a month marketing budget for now, but I will suggest that you increase it at least to $1,000.
Okay.
All right. So secretary, how much do you want to pay a secretary per month? And yes, I do highly suggest you have a secretary, even if she is part-time. I need somebody answering that phone while you teaching.
I would say about $17 an hour.
You said $17 an hour?
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you want her to work full-time or part-time?
Part-time.
All right. Of course, someone's calling my phone right now, so I can't use my phone to calculate that. So give me a moment. I'll move on. Okay, there they go. They stopped calling. So, all right. So that's 17 times 20 times 4, which is $1,360. That's how much money per month. Program coordinator. So you're gonna be, I think, in your situation, you're gonna be your own program coordinator. I didn't even remember to get in your business to find out whether or not you're gonna teach too. Are you gonna teach also, or are you gonna be separate program coordinator and somebody else gonna teach?
No, I'm gonna teach too.
Okay. So I'm gonna help you budget for getting yourself out of one of those roles. Because if we under, which we can still under budget, but my goal is to always over budget in the beginning, and we can redo this however many times we need to make the numbers do right. I'm gonna over budget because one day I want you to get out of one of these roles and just flourish in the other. So with the program coordinator, remember that is the person who is overseeing the implementation of the program, how it works, who's doing what, making sure you guys are following rules and regulations and laws. The program coordinator can either be a person that is completely full time, or it can be a person that you just pay to come in and kind of like audit documents 3 or 4 times a month. Okay, so with that being said, how do you want to handle this?
I would rather the program coordinator be, someone that comes in the 4 times a month.
Okay, so then that means this is a person we're probably going to pay a stipend to. So we're not necessarily probably going to pay them per hour. So how much would I stipend a person to come, let's say 3 times a month for, you might not even need them more than 5 hours each time. So that's 15 hours a month. How much would you want to stipend that person for?
15 hours a month. Um, 750.
Okay. So we're going to stipend them for 750. Are you taking out a loan to start this program?
I have been considering it, but I haven't took one out yet.
Okay. So as of right now, we don't have loan repayment, so I'm going to paint that as a 0. And typically I put like 200 or 250 here. This is just like incidentals. Like, hey, what did we forget? We might have forgot website hosting, or something that we need to be thinking about. So I'm just going to put that there. All right. So I'm going to hit submit. And how much did you tell me you wanted to charge?
I said 1,000.
Okay. Well, just with this one program alone, you are going to make money after year 1. So according to this analysis, it says your total costs for the program will be $1,333. I'm sorry, $133,904. And that in order for you to break even, you would need to charge at least $859 per person. So the tool says that if you run programs often enough, you can have up to 113 students in the first year. But you are going to be in the negative at least $20,000 in the first year, which is not unheard of. Most companies are always in the negative the first year. However, in the second year, you'll get 156 students and you'll have a surplus of 20,000. And this is just from one program.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to go ahead and quickly put in your second program, which was your evening. And you're going to have to remind me because some of this stuff I don't remember. So let's go through it. This was 80 and this was 40. All right. And how long was your evening program?
It was, I guess we had to go up to 6 weeks because it was an extra week.
Okay, so we're going to do 7. We have 45, we have 40, we have 15. Okay, and then we had a textbook at 60, we had a uniform at 20, we had a badge at 5, we had CPR at 25, we had background check. What did I say the background check was?
25.
Okay, and that was it. Okay, this is looking better. So now this says, hey, you got the first class, the second class. In order for you to break even, you only need to charge $650.
Okay.
Well, nobody wants to break even. We want to make money, right?
Right.
So your first year, if you're able to bring in that many students between both of the programs, which by the way, the state of Illinois is probably going to tell you that number is too high. If we tell them that, they're going to say this number, it looks really high. We don't think you can bring in that many students in your first year. That's a whole nother discussion for me and you to have at another time. That's just from my
Mhm.
experience. I've seen certain states try to argue you down about the amount of students you could bring in the first year. Anyway, so your growth and how much you would make in a surplus is you can pay for all of your bills plus have 7,000 left over in the first year. But in the
Mhm.
second year is when you would really start making money. So in the second year, you would pay all your bills and still have a little under 100,000 left, which is nice.
Okay. Mhm.
And then we have kind of this little. I'm gonna print off a PDF for you to view afterwards,
Okay.
but I'll send it to you in email when we're done. But this is kind of a bird's eye view because if you're like me, I'm visual. And so I like to
Mhm.
see, well, where is my money going? So right here, the course costs, this is how much money is going towards costs, which is mostly your instructor pay. That makes sense.
Okay.
Clinical instructor pay. And then there's a little bit about it says student options, but that's like the book, the uniform, whatever. So you're not really bleeding a lot of money there. If you needed to do cuts, you see right here is where most of your money going.
Mhm. Yeah.
Your tuition. So you have a surplus of tuition versus your operational cost, which is always what we want. And then over
Okay.
here is your overhead costs versus your program costs. So your programs are costing you a little more actually than your overhead. So it's just a good bird's eye view. But you did good. Sometimes we do this and people are like, ooh, I said I wanted my tuition to be 700. We got to redo this. So we did pretty good. I think you had some good thought processes on how much you should charge. You could always go up because, as you mentioned, there are people charging more in your area, so you could
Yeah.
go up.
Mhm.
But that is your tuition evaluation assessment. So, for those of you watching, again, if you like this and this is something you want to try out, click the link in the description box, which is right beneath this video. You can book a call with me or my team, and we can help you do the exact same thing. Please prepare for at least an hour because that's how long it would probably take. Thanks for watching.